Alright, hey guys, this is April 13th. It is Monday. What we're going to do today is basically go through the next section. This next section starts on page 419. And so page 419 is where we're mainly going to be. This is going to deal with basically what we did last week. The only difference is when we're multiplying now, you're going to be multiplying a number through multiple terms. And so I'm just going to get in, go straight through it. And so if you look on page 420 at number 2, so over here on the left side of the board, basically what they give you is 10 times the parentheses of 2x minus 3. And so what I'm going to do is I'm basically just going to distribute the 10 to both of those terms in the parentheses. I'm going to multiply that 10 times both of those terms, both of those numbers in the parentheses. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 10 times 2x. And so when I do 10 times 2x, remember numbers, you just multiply the number times the number like we've always done. Once we introduce variables, when we multiply variables, you add the exponents. And so here, it's just 10 times 2x, and so I just do the 10 times the 2, which is 20, and then the x doesn't have anything to multiply by, so it's just 20x would be that first one. And then I'm going to do the 10 times the negative 3. So basically I have to make sure this 10 goes to both terms, both the 2x and the negative 3. And so when I do 10 times the negative 3, that is of course negative 30. And then at the very end, I can see if I can have like terms. Like term, basically it looks exactly the same, has the same base. And so here, I don't have like terms. This one is an x, this one's just a number, so I can't combine them. And so that is just my answer, 20x minus 30. And so 20x minus 30 would be your answer. So all we're doing is we're multiplying this 10 times both terms. And remember, numbers, you just multiply number times number. When you have variables, when you multiply the variables together, you add their exponents. So that is number 2. I'm going to look at number 4 next. So I have negative 3 times 4y plus 8. So what happens here, again, we just want to distribute that negative 3 to both terms. And so I'm going to do negative 3 times 4y. So negative 3 times 4y, the numbers you just multiply together, and so it's just negative 3 times 4, which is negative 12. Remember, when you multiply negative times a positive, it's a negative. Positive times positive is a positive, or negative times negative is a positive. And so negative 3 times 4 is a negative 12, and then the y doesn't have another y to combine it with, so it just stays negative 12y. Okay? So that's the first term. You have to do it to both terms. The term is just this grouping. 4y and 8 are each separate terms. And so I'm going to do negative 3 times 8. So negative 3 times 8 would be a negative 24. And so you would have this as your answer. Negative 12y minus 24. Notice the negative 12y has a y, and the 24 does not, so you cannot combine them. It just has to stay negative 12y minus 24 as your answer. Alright, so next I'm going to do number 8. So number 8 is going to work basically the same way. Notice the only difference between number 8 and numbers 4 and number 2 is that number 8 now has 3 terms. It has this x squared, this 3x, and the 9. But how you work it stays exactly the same. And so I'm just going to distribute this 4 to each term and then do the multiplication. And so when I do 4 times x squared, you do 4 times the number. There's an understood 1 to be in front of that x squared since I didn't write it. And so it's really just 4 times 1, which would be 4. And then the x squared doesn't have anything to combine it with there, so it's just x squared. So 4x squared would be that term. Then I have to do the 4 times the 3x. So you just have to make sure you distribute 4 all the way through it. So the 4 times the 3 there, you do 4 times the 3, number times the number, and that is 12. And then you're going to do the x there, doesn't have another x, so it just stays the x. So it's 12x. Then the last thing, where this one has one extra step, because there was 3 terms instead of 2, and so I'm just going to distribute the 4 to the 9. And when I distribute the 4 to the 9, 4 times 9 is 36, and that is positive, so it would be positive 36. Now, one check to do, notice down here at the bottom we have an x squared. I have no other x squared, so I can't combine like terms now together. I have an x, I don't have another x, so I can't combine with anything. And I have just a plain number that I can't combine with anything. And so that is my answer right there. 4x squared plus 12x plus 36. And so just keep in mind, we're just multiplying numbers times numbers, and then when you have a variable, which we're going to do next, then you're going to have to add the exponents, because that was our rule. Okay, next I'll look at number 14. So 14 says w times w plus 5. Okay, so 14 here, w times w plus 5. So notice the difference between this problem and the previous ones I've done. The only difference is that this has a w where the other ones had numbers right there, but it stays the same. We're just going to distribute this w to both terms. So I'm going to do w times w. Okay, now this is where when you multiply variables you add their exponents. And so here this is understood 1 for the first w because it wasn't written. This is understood 1 for this second w there because it wasn't written. And so when we multiply the w times the w, we're just going to add their exponents. And so it's just w1 plus 1, which will give me w to the second. So w squared would be that first term. I did w times w because we just add the exponents at that point. Next, you do w times the 5 because we have to distribute it all the way through. And so w times the 5 would just be 5w because you basically multiply number times number. There's an understood 1 in front of the w because it's just 1w. And so you do the 1 times the 5, and then the w, there's no other w to combine with, so you just write it. And so you end up with w squared plus 5w. Again, at that point, you can check for like terms. Notice that we have w squared, so we don't have another square, and so we can't combine them. And then we have the 5w, which is the 1w, we have nothing like that, so we can't combine it with anything. So that is simply our answer right there. Skipping around a little bit, we'll try 26. So I'll do 26 next. So 26 says r to the 4th. And then the parentheses, and I have r squared plus 8r plus 10. Okay, so again, it works the same way. All I'm going to be doing is distributing that r to the 4th to each term, to all three of them there. A term stops at the plus sign or minus sign. And so I'm going to do r to the 4th times r squared. And so I'm multiplying r times r, and so that means I'm just going to add the exponents, okay? So when I do the number in front, there's an understood 1 in front of each of those, so it's just 1 times 1, which is basically 1. And then when I do the r's, you do r to the 4th times r squared, so we're going to be adding those exponents. So it's r to the 4 plus 2, add the exponents, and that'll give you an r to the 6th. Okay, so that's the first one. Then I have to do this times the 8r. Okay, so now notice it's 1 times 8. And so 1 times 8 is going to be plus 8. And then I have to do the r times the r. We're going to add the exponents there. So it's r to the 4th plus 1. There's an understood 1 above that r. It's just the r, it's an understood exponent of 1. And so you do the 4 plus the 1, and we end up with 8 r to the 5th. And then the last one is just the r to the 4th times the 10. So here when you do 1 times the 10, it is just 10. And then the r, there's nothing to combine it with, so it's r to the 4th. And then, so that's your answer. Notice we have r to the 6th, so we have no other r to the 6th to combine it with. We have r to the 5th, no other r to the 5th to combine it with. And we have r to the 4th, no other r to the 4th to combine it with. And so that is your answer. We'll do one more. Look at 32. So 32 says 4b. And then they give us 20b minus 14. Alright, so what's the difference in this problem compared to the other ones we've done? Well, the other ones we've done have either had a r, had a variable, or they've had a number, but they haven't had both of them. This one just does both of them. Now we have a number and we have a variable. So that's the only difference. And so what we're going to do here is we're still going to be distributing it through. So we're going to do 4b times 20b. And so when we multiply these, you do number times number, and then the variable times the variable with adding the exponents. So I'm going to do the 4 times the 20. So 4 times 20 would be 80. And then I'm going to do the b times the b, and then I'm going to add their exponents. And so there's an understood 1 for this one, and then there's an understood 1 for that one since I didn't write it. And so we're really doing b1 plus 1 as the exponent. And so this would be 80b squared. So 80b squared, 1 plus 1 is 2. And then we're going to distribute the 4b to the negative 14. And that would be 4 times negative 14, which would be, I'll just do my cheat sheet real quick. That would be a 56. So minus 56, and then the b doesn't have 1 to combine it with, and so it'd be 56b. There's no other b to combine it with, so you just write it. And so your final answer then would be 80b squared minus 56b. So really this is just a lesson, the lessons that we did a couple days ago. The only difference now is you're doing basically multiple problems within one. And so you just have to make sure we distribute this to every term. You multiply numbers times numbers the way you've always multiplied. When you multiply the variable times the variable, you just write the letter and then add the exponents. And so that is pretty much the lesson. So what I need y'all to do today for homework is going to be page 420 and 421. Do 1 through 39 odd. I did some of the even, so do 1 through 39 odd. And then just to kind of help us review, do 44 through 66 even on the review. So have a good day. Any questions, just get with me.